The Diary of a Harlequin is proudly brought to you by Charles Stanley Wealth Managers, official player welfare partner of Harlequins. If you're looking to start your investment journey, then Charles Stanley has lots of tips and ideas on how to secure your financial future. It's the final episode of Series 1 of The Diary of a Harlequin, and today we find ourselves down at Surrey Sports Park, right at the heart of the action where the team train. So if there is a bit of background noise going on today, it'll only be because there's some very important team meetings going on next door. I'm your host, Joe Yates-Round, and for the final episode of Series 1, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome a Harlequins legend, Danny Kerr. Danny has played for Quins since 2006, and this season became the most capped player to ever pull on the quarters, having made over 350 appearances. 2 times Premiership winner, 87 England caps, 3 times Six Nations winner, once a Grand Slam, one of the greatest to ever pull on the shirt. But away from rugby, he's also a podcaster, TV pundit, husband, father of 3, and trying his hand at property developing as well. So he's keeping busy. Welcome to the Diary of a Harlequin, Danny.
Thank you, mate. What a lovely intro. I'm a tired and now broke player as well. You should have added that into the...
We'll come on to that as we'll start. But we'll start at happier times when you were young, full of life, vivacious. So why rugby for you as a young lad in Leeds? How did that kind of love affair start?
Yeah, so it started back at West Park Bramhope. My older brother Simon, he was 2 years older than me, so I'd kind of been that younger brother you always kind of chasing to be like him. Unfortunately, he got the tall gene. I didn't get the tall gene. He got the tall gene. I got the short one. But he went down to West Park under 7s, so I was 5. I went down there to watch him, but then started watching him play, and I was like, I quite like a bit of that. So we badgered them to let me play, but they said he couldn't because of the laws. You're too young.
Because of the law.
Yeah.
God damn law.
I know, but then a year later, so when I was 6, they let me play a year up because I was quite quick. So they're like, we could do with you on the wing. So I started playing, and they just used to stick me on the wing, and I used my legs are much bigger now, but I used to run and score tries, and I loved it. I just loved the whole day of a Sunday and going down there with your family, playing rugby, into the clubhouse, can of Coke, bag of chips, the whole environment, people giving up their own time just to be there to help support the community. We loved it. But I also love football. So I used to play rugby Sunday morning, football Sunday afternoon, because the timings worked. Then it got to a stage when I was a bit old, I think it was about under 9s, 10s, where me and my brother had to make a decision, and he chose rugby, I chose football. So I stopped playing rugby for a bit because I wanted to be a footballer. That was my That was the
dream as a kid.
That was the dream. I loved rugby, but I loved football more. Yeah. And I didn't get hit in football as much, so I quite enjoyed
as much,
that.
I think, is the important thing there. Yeah,
as much. So I chose football for a bit, and then went down that route. Got a trial at Sheffield Wednesday. Went to play for Sheffield Wednesday for 3 years. Loved it. Then a new academy manager came in, told me I was too small. Myself and Jamie Vardy are in the same team. Both of us were put on the bench for quite a while, and I always remember, my dad used to drive me to Sheffield 2 nights a week, which from Leeds, it's about an hour. So 2 hours in the car, twice a week, and then a game on a Saturday. I remember we played Man United at home. We lost 2-0 and I didn't get on. It's the first time I'd never been put on. And
how old are you at that
I was 15. So all I wanted to do was play football. Yeah. I didn't care who it was for. I just wanted to play. So I remember after that game, I said to my dad, I'm done. I've had enough here.
Really?
Just want to play. Because I was coming off the bench. The first 2 years, I played quite a lot, scored quite a few goals. And then the new academy manager came in and looked at size and went, no, you're too small, so you're not going to play as much. And I was like, okay. Obviously you think, well, I'll show him I can still do it. I back myself to still do it. But then, I wasn't playing an awful lot. So after that game, I remember speaking to my dad on the way home and just said, I don't want to do this. I just want to play.
And was that the feedback you got? Or was it was purely based on height?
It was purely based on height. That they were picking. They wanted to pick bigger lads because they didn't think younger lads could do it. Whereas the academy manager before, a guy called Clive Baker, sadly isn't with us anymore. But he was the guy that got hold of me at 12, 13 and was like, yeah, this is how you play. And he believed in me. And then the new academy manager came in when Clive left, and I don't know his name. I want to find out who he is, because in a way he kind of ruined my dreams of being a footballer.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe he opened the doors to me going, well, I'm going to go and try rugby again. So,
and that worked out okay.
It's gone all right.
Yeah,
it's gone all right. But yeah, it was a tough decision to leave. But I left. I went back and just played for my local club, Adel, with my mates. Loved football again. But luckily, I was at Prince Henry's Grammar School, which played rugby.
Right, okay.
So I could still play a bit of rugby on the side. So I hadn't lost my full fix of rugby. And all the lads kept saying, "Oh, come and join Otley.
Yeah.
Come and play rugby." And for years I was, no, I'm going to be a footballer. I'm sticking to football. And then they went, well, we've got a lads and dads tour to Dublin.
That sounds awful.
Yeah. And I was like, what's that? And they're like, oh, well, we go and we stay over, we play a few games and you can have a couple of beers with your dad and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll give that a go. And I remember going there, joined Otley. We all dyed our hair blonde. It was like that typical rugby thing. Went down there, played some games, had a couple of beers with everyone and my dad after, and I was like, this is a bit of me. I think I like this.
Yeah.
And then I stuck to rugby from then.
And you said, so your brother picked rugby and you picked football. Was he then super thrilled that you then went back to rugby after having tried a bit of football?
Yeah, he was happy. He loved his rugby. He got the smart gene, so he's a clever bloke and he worked hard. So he's done really well out of school. He came down to London, went to Imperial College and played for the medics team.
Wow.
Which I used to love going and watching him play. Never seen looser post-match stuff that I saw in that uni rugby stuff. And I always remember his mates, because when I came out to Harlequins, they'd be like, oh, do you do this sort of stuff at Quins? I'm like, absolutely not. Because some of the stuff I saw there was you can't unsee it.
Yeah, so that's bursting the bubble then of everyone that says, oh, but Prem rugby clubs, it's just like playing it at, there's a different level.
There's a different level of looseness, I would say. I mean, Prem rugby players do let their hair down, but the stuff I saw those days was
I can see it in your eyes. It's harrowing. Yeah. But what you've also just revealed there is that there's basically a Danny Kerr out there who's tall and smart. He sounds fantastic.
Good looking dude as well. Yeah. Better hair. He's done all right. Big Si.
So then that dream of football, you kind of is taken away from you. Kind of must feel pretty raw, and you must be pretty angry about that at 15 in the way that's happened, or did rugby help channel that away?
Yeah, I was angry just because I just wanted to play.
Yeah.
I didn't care who it was for. I just loved football, just loved scoring goals, loved the whole vibe of it. But then it kind of made me fall in love with rugby a little bit more.
Yeah.
I definitely feel it's a closer environment, rugby, and being in that team at Otley. Luckily, my school team we were a good team. We were a state school, but we were tough. Like, we had some tough lads that we used to love going and playing private school kids. Because I grew up hating private school kids because of how privileged they were. I always said, I'll never send my kids to a private school. And then I've had kids. They're in private school.
Is that Quins? Has Quins got your skin there?
I think a little bit. But I speak to any of the lads who went to private school and they're like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever. And we went and looked at a few schools for Blake, our youngest, and went round a couple of private schools and we're like, how can we not give him this if we can? So we always said, whilst we can, we'll give them hopefully a leg up. But now I've got 3, it's becoming...
Are you betting you look at it all and be like, do you all really need
which
that?
Which one do I put my money on to do well? So no, it's that kind of made me fall in love with rugby even more. My school team was great. We got to a Daily Mail Vars final, played at Twickenham.
Amazing.
When I was 16, which was amazing to run out there, and I scored a try and we won the game. And it's kind of the best thing our school had ever done. Our little school up in Otley, to come down to Twickenham and win the game was incredible. Played fly half back then. I was a fly half in that team, so I loved that. Is
that as close to being a footballer as you can get on the
fly half? I think so.
Team,
yeah, I think so. I'd say scrum half because you touch the ball more than anyone.
Yeah.
But the fly half, I think, annoyingly does dictate the game a little bit more than the 9.
And so how did Quins then come into view for you? Because I imagine at that point, playing rugby, you're back loving it again and doing it for fun. Then is it a phone call, someone taps you on the shoulder after a match? Like, what happens?
Yeah, so I played for Yorkshire 16s, North of England, then England under 16s.
Yeah.
I'd been to a trial for the Leeds like EPDC thing it was then, where the kids got pre-academy stuff.
Yeah.
And I've still got a letter from Stuart Lancaster saying that I wasn't good enough to get into that.
Excellent.
Which I've reminded him of a couple of times. And then I think on one of the notes, it was like something to do with thinking he's a footballer. So I think I probably picked up a couple of bad traits. But then I then got picked for England under 16s, and then Leeds came knocking again and said, oh, maybe you could come down and train again. And I went and trained again, then got into their sort of pathway, signed up with their academy, made my first team debut while I was still at school with Leeds. Played against Valladolid away in the European Cup. It was amazing. Played fly half, scored a try, kicked a couple of conversions, and then broke my leg all within 25 minutes.
Wow.
So it was an interesting debut. And I always remember the post-match, we got looked after so well out there. The whole town kind of came to the game, and we went to this local restaurant. And I remember I got carried in there because I was obviously in so much pain in these crutches. Terry Crystal was the old England doctor, who's a bit of a legend, and he was our Leeds doctor at the time. And I always remember I needed to go to the toilet at one point. I was like, "Where's my crutches?" And one of the lads was like, "Look up there." And Terry Crystal, the doctor, was top off on the table with my crutch as a microphone, singing to the whole of this Valladolid nightclub. So lads had to carry me upstairs. They had a wee, come back downstairs, and Terry was like, "Sorry, mate."
And that was the doctor.
That was the doctor. Yeah, right, very professional. Terry was. But it was amazing. Even though I broke my leg, it was an amazing experience to play for Leeds. Obviously, then I had a bit of spell out, a bit of rehab. And then that year, at the end of my school year, I got offered a first team contract to sign for Leeds straight out of school. So I did, and Justin Marshall was coming as their big sign and scrum half. So they were like, "Look, there's three of you. You're going to learn off Justin Marshall." It was myself, Mark McMillan, and Justin. So as an 18-year-old out of school, just being in training with Justin every day, watching him, seeing how he operated. For me, he was one of my heroes, one of my idols. I've loved the way he played the game. It was incredible just to work with him. And I got I think I probably got about 6 or 7 appearances off the bench. I think I got one start that year, which was amazing, but I just tried to soak up as much of his knowledge as I could. Unfortunately, we got relegated that year. We had an amazing team, but it just didn't quite click. Right. We got relegated, and the 4 of us were on the same contract. Right, so it was £12,000, which then I was a kid. I was like, "This is amazing." Lived at home. Mum did all my washing. So I just had to buy a car and then get myself to training and back. But £1,000 a month is fantastic, unbelievable. So then we got relegated. And then one of the lads in our contracts found out that on the back page it had a relegation release clause because we signed 2-year deals. And so then I had a decision to make, obviously, of do I stick with my boyhood club and go down to the Championship, or I'd had a taste of the Premiership and I loved it, and I was like, I feel like I can do it. So it's then you need a club to take a sort of bit of a punt on you. I'd played England under 19s that year, so I'd kind of been in the shop window a little bit.
Right, okay.
And then my agent had 3 calls: Northampton, Saracens, and Harlequins. And we went and met every club. Came down the M1, did Northampton, went to Saracens, met Eddie Jones at Saracens. He was the coach there at the time. And I'll be honest, I walked out of the Saracens meeting with Eddie, and I was like, I think that might be the one. And Harlequins was the last stop on the trip. And I'll be honest, Saracens offered me a decent package that day. They were up front at the table, and I was a 19-year-old, obviously. Right, yeah. And oh my God, here we go. Yeah. I can buy a better car. Yeah. Obviously, the idiot in me is like, what could it be? I could buy anything. And then went to Quins, and I was generally I was thinking, well, I almost said to Eddie, I think we're sorted here. It was him and Alan Gaffney. And then got to Harlequins, met Dean Richards, Andy Friend and John Kingston. And within a minute I was sold. Yeah, Dean basically said, we've been watching you for a couple of years. We think you're going to be the next England scrum half. We want to build a team around you. We want you to play the way you play, quick tapping, smile on face, have some fun. Want you to enjoy your rugby. We think this is the right club for you. And I was like, yeah.
I guess then for you, kind of going back almost then hearing what you heard at Leeds, in Sheffield, even when you want to just play football, it was like, no, you're not going to play, you got to sit on the bench. To hear someone walk into a meeting and go, you're going to play every week, play the way you want to play, your eyes must just lit up.
It was amazing, obviously, and it's Dean Richards who's saying it to you. You're like, first I'm staring up at him, but it was just great. Like, I felt like I was wanted. I felt the love straight away. I felt like this was the right club for me. We walked out of the room. I'd said to my agent, I don't care what the money is. I want to sign for Quins. I mean, the money wasn't bad. It wasn't far off Saracens, but it was.
We're not getting violins out there.
No. You don't get violins out. No, I was paid very well to come down here. But as a 19-year-old, it was a big decision because I was a bit of a mummy's boy. I loved being at home. It'd be my first time moving away from home and not just moving down the road. Yeah, a good 4 hours drive. But I moved in with David Strettle. He signed at the same time. We played England Sevens that year together. Nice. So it's kind of like a big brother, two Northerners down here looking after me. And signed for Quins. Didn't play at all the first year.
Excellent, good, yeah.
Obviously everything Dean had said. But he kept saying to me, I don't think you're ready yet. And I was like, I am. I kept knocking on his door saying, give me a shot. And he said, look, I promise you, when you're ready, you'll get your chance. And then we signed Andy Gummersall, who was the current England number one. So he was playing, and then again, the best thing ever happened was me not play that year because I just sat and watched Gummers, and he worked with me on my passing and my kicking and my fundamentals, and then the other stuff. Because Dean always said, once you got that right, your other stuff will take care of itself. Yeah. But passing and kicking and leading this team around. And then I remember he gave me a chance. I think it was Saracens away. And he put me into the team, and it was the same time that Brownie and Geordie and George Robson and Ugo and everyone were kind of coming into the team together. And we started playing this quicker brand of rugby, throwing it around a fair bit, and then I became kind of the number one scrum half, and it was me starting and Andy Gummersall on the bench, which again was mad.
You must have been pinching yourself.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That first year of being like, right, I'm learning, and then he sat on the bench. You're going,
yeah. But he was brilliant. Like he was kind of like me now. He's coming to the end, and I think he was happy for someone to take up the minutes. And he was still brilliant with me for that year, which then he left, and then since then I've been here the whole time.
Wow. So a couple of bits I want to go back to. One was the difference between a football academy and a rugby academy for you. Was there a big difference? Was there a big gulf in terms of the way you were treated as academy players at both?
Yeah, I think it's very different. I think as an academy footballer, you were nowhere near the first team. Like you didn't see them at all. Whereas as a rugby player, you'd see them and they'd be in the same building. So you kind of get a glimpse of, they're the big lads.
Yeah.
You also, up in Leeds, it was a harsh learning curve for academy lads. You had to earn your stripes a little bit more than, I think times have changed 17 years on.
You sound disappointed at times in change.
I was going to, the difference between Surrey kids and Yorkshire kids, I'd say maybe is a little bit different, but I'm sat here with 3 Surrey kids now. The way you didn't really look at a first teamer in the eye. In the academy, you had to earn your stripes. You only kind of got the respect of them when you played.
Right. Okay.
So you had to show them you could do it, get your head down and graft, and a few lads got it wrong. Yeah. I always remember coming into the squad and a few of the first team, the older lads, just how amazing they were with me, just looking out for you and helping you out and always having your back. People like Rob Rawlinson, who's an old hooker for Leeds, would always look out for me on the pitch, off the pitch. Remember Brian Lima played against Bristol once, and the chiropractor Brian Lima went for a handoff and closed his fist and literally punched me in the face. Knocked me clean out cold. I think it's on YouTube. Ollie Cohn always sends it to me every now and then when it's a bit sad. And I remember Rob Rawlinson chasing him down and like starting a fight with Brian Lima just to look after me. But I always remembered him and a couple of others that how they were with me kind of when I grew up. And I was always said, if I ever turn into a senior player, I want to be like that with the academy lads, trying to be opening and good to them. But they get it too easy now, these young boys. It's way too easy.
I like that you pivoted. I want to be good to one after them, but it's too.
But they still need to. Yeah, they need to graft a little bit more for my liking.
Okay.
But yeah, that's probably the old school northerner in me.
So then you've broken into the Quins team, as you say. It wasn't just you. There was kind of a core of guys that were all similar ages, must be similar levels of excitement to get into the team, and then all playing the way that you wanted to play. What were those kind of first couple of years like?
Yeah, it was amazing because I'd done England under 21s World Cup over in France with Mike Brown, Mark Lambert, Alex Rogers, Chris Brooker. There was probably a couple more, and Chris Robshaw obviously. And they all said, that was at the time where I didn't know who I was going to sign for, and they kept saying, "Come to Quins, come to Quins." So then to come down there, and I'd known Jordan Turner Hall for years in the England sort of academy stuff. So he was badgering me to come down. I'd met Ugo a couple of times in sevens stuff. So then to come down, and then that first year was tough as well because a lot of them were playing and I wasn't.
Right, okay.
So I'd come down from Leeds, and then I was just twiddling my thumbs on a weekend, and they were all going playing with the Quins, and I was so jealous. Just wanted that. But then when I did get into the team after the first year, just to play with your best mates was amazing. We all kind of grown up together. We were all young, free and single. So we were having a good time off the field as well. And we just grew up. We grew up together, and we were playing, for me, in the best team because we played the best rugby, I thought. There wasn't many restraints on us as players. It was just go out there and do your thing. And we had three wise heads of Nick Evans, Nick Easter and Mo Falsavalu and Ollie Cohn, who kind of came in to keep the youngsters on track. But we had such a good vibe, and we loved it. We just loved playing together.
Playing with that group of players, you talked about that. They were your best mates, and you got to play with them week in, week out when you got into that team. A lot of similar things are being said about this group over the last few years, that there's that real strong bond, that brotherhood again. Would you make that comparison, although at a different point in your career?
Yeah, obviously I've seen it from the two different perspectives now of being the young lads with the old wise heads that helped us. And then I think when we won the league in 21, there was people asked me how was it different. It did feel very similar because you've got the young crew of Marcus and Domers and Liner and Tyrone and all the lads, Caden, March, all these boys that have grown up together, been in the academy together, played so many games of rugby together as youngsters. Yeah. And then you realise that I was the old head. There was myself, Brownie, Marla, Ross Chisholm, James Chisholm. You'd even throw into the old head category. Yeah. Sorry, James. So you did kind of feel that it was a similar, and it felt very similar. Felt like we were playing at that year a brand of rugby that, when we got it right, no one could live with it. Yeah. And it's very rare. That's only happened to me twice in 17 years, but it felt that way, that we would beat anyone. And we had that confidence about us. I go back to 2012, we had a confidence that year that we'd beat anyone, and we sat top of the log the whole year because we knew we were the best team. Nearly lost the semi-final, which would have been a travesty, but then got to the final and beat Leicester, who were this unbelievable team at the time. So it did feel similar. The vibe definitely felt similar, but like I say, I'm now in unfortunately the older category of trying to keep a lid on some of these young lads, but I loved it. I loved playing that role of helping the young lads out and a shoulder to lean on, or I can give them a bit of words of wisdom of stuff probably not to do that I did. It was a privilege to kind of watch those young lads develop, and Louis to score those 2 tries in the final, and Marcus to play the way he did. I think people forget those kicks at goal that was so important in that final to win us that game. It was just a pleasure to be a part of. I'm so happy that I've managed to do it twice.
And we've heard from Stefan Levis on this podcast talking about that run-in in 2021, and he said that he got you up in front of the younger lads to talk about what it was like winning it in 2012, to kind of add a bit of extra emotion, I guess, into it, say this is actually how much it means. What are your recollections of having to stand up and talk about that to this group of players?
Yeah, I think so. It was about 6 weeks to go to the playoffs, and Steph just said, look, I think it'd be great to hear from you just to explain to the lads just how good 2012 was and what it meant to you as a person. So, yeah, I just spoke honestly about the day of 2012, the final, genuinely being up there with the best days of my life, because it was, and it still is. Apart from my wedding and the birth of the 3 kids.
Of course, yeah.
When lifting that trophy with your best mates at Twickenham, after knowing how hard it is to do it, is the most incredible feeling. So, and I think someone came up with a stat the other day that it's only 0.03% of everyone that plays in the Premiership have ever won a league title.
Wow.
Which is mad when you think of it like that. And I'm very lucky now to say that I've won it twice. And I do think the second one I would rank the highest because I had my family there with me to watch it. When at 2012 I was again young, free and single, and mum and dad obviously were there, my family, but it's different when you've got the kids there and Blake, who's all about winning trophies, to be able to bring the trophy home to him and get them on the pitch after the game, makes it extra special.
So you answered my next question already as to which one you'd rank higher, but interesting, the reason behind it being because your family were there. Like, is that something that you're super proud of when you look back at your time at Quins, the rugby, but the fact that you say you're not quite at the end yet, but kind of at that towards that side of it, you've got your family who've only known you as a Harlequin, I guess.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's 3 more people to try and make proud. I want them to. I love the fact that Blake kind of knows what Dad does. Koa does a little bit. She's 3, but obviously Rocco, my youngest, probably won't get it. But I want to make them proud. I want them to be able to look back and go, "Oh, your dad was a rugby player and he did all right. Like he lifted a couple of trophies, and we've got the pictures of us all on the pitch together." So, for me, family's obviously everything. It's why I'm still doing it now. And to put smiles on their faces meant the world to me. So that's why the second one will always mean a little bit more. But the first one was good as well.
A little bit more, not loads.
Not loads more, no.
Right, so we covered those Premiership wins in 2021, just edging it for you. But it's a long time to wait between Prem wins. Obviously, we had a bit of success following that 2012 win, but then it kind of drifted. I'm sure fans, listening to this will think, "God, we sort of had the players, but it never really happened." What was it like being on the inside of that group at that time?
Yeah, it was frustrating because you have the ultimate success and the goal that you set out as a rugby player to win the league. That's the ultimate, and then you go, I want that again. Like it's a bit of an addiction, the winning feeling, and definitely lifting a trophy. I think on reflection, looking back, I think we stood still a little bit for a few years. I think we thought the same thing would gather the same results, which is the definition of insanity, isn't it? Not changing things. So I think we kind of stood still and went, "Oh, we'll be fine. Like we just won it last year. We should do it." But the reality is, I think teams got a lot better. You then become the hunted rather than the hunters. Everyone wants to beat you. Everyone wants to shut you up.
Is that just you personally?
I think it's me and definitely me. But obviously us as a club. And we didn't quite kick on the way we should have done. We got to a European final in 2016, which was it 2016? I think it was 2016.
2016,
narrowly missed out on that, which would have been amazing, but gave us that sense of we could have won that, could have picked up another bit of silverware. And then a few dark times. I think you've got to go through some dark times to probably appreciate the good ones. I think that, again, why the second one probably meant a bit more to me was the amount of dark times that had been in between to then get back to that stage, the big dance. and to win it again. And a few different coaches and managers in and out, lots of player turnover. I think that the stats were mental the last few years of how many players have been in and out of this environment. So it's very hard then to build a culture, to build a strong culture that everyone could buy into when there's so much chopping and changing. And then I think we had the year again that we won it. We had a consistent, fit team to pick from, which I think you can't underestimate. If you can get your best players out there every week playing together, you've got a good chance of winning games. And for that season, touch wood, we were very fortunate. Not many lads were away with England. I think Marcus and Domers got picked. I think Joe Marchant was in and out. But we hardly had any lads away, so we could pick from a similar team every week. And you grow so much stronger as a team when you do that, when the same pack can go together or the same back line. It does help. I'm not saying that 23 players win a squad. 100% they don't. It's the full squad effort, and we talked about that massively, about how amazing the lads who weren't playing in that 20 or 21 season were for the group. The way they challenged us in training was exceptional. Some of the rugby that they played, that they strung together in training, was amazing, and the physicality they brought, so that we were ready for the weekend. So when it came to the weekend, you go, okay, well, we've faced this because we've practiced it in training. So they were as important as the starting team when we lifted that trophy. That's why you could see us all there on the pitch together. And I think from my time in rugby, I think the hardest thing you can get is 45 lads all on the same page, all wanting the team to win, whether they're starting or not. And for the 2 years I've been here, that's the way the culture was.
And do you think that, because obviously the 2021, you can't talk about that period without talking about the pandemic and kind of what that meant for all of us, but for you guys as a squad, that you were then in this really tight bubble, so you had to spend all this time as a really focused group. Do you think, I guess that could have gone one or two ways, right? It could have been really fractious, where you're just like, oh, I'm seeing these guys again. But it seemed to have, well, from the outside anyway, it looked like there was a real bond forged in that time. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think it really galvanised us. I think obviously there was a change of coach as well. And we'd seen some great stuff, I think, with the other coaches, but then the club made the decision to make the change, and then we were left with a decision to make of, fight or flight. And we said, right, well, if one thing we're going to do is we're going to go down swinging, we're going to give it a go, we're going to give it a crack. And one thing we wanted to do as players was to go back to our style, to the Quins style, and to be true to ourselves. So we said we believe in it, and we feel like we could beat anyone on our day if we're allowed to play that way. And fair play, the coaches said, yeah, let's roll with it, and we roll with it. And then as players, you feel listened to, you feel trusted.
Yeah. Is there a bit of extra pressure that comes with that when you put your hand up as players and say, we want to play this way? So better make it a success.
Exactly. You've got to back it up with some action, not just words. And little things like we said, we don't need to do a team run the day before a game. We don't need it. Like, if you're not ready on a Thursday, if you don't know your stuff on a Thursday, then it's pointless. You shouldn't be there anyway. So we said, just give us that day off to let us refresh, and then come into Saturday and we'll show you on Saturday that we're ready. So then as players, the coach went, yeah, fine, Friday's off. So then as players, you go, wow, this is great. Get an extra day off. Yeah. But with that comes a responsibility that we have to perform now. We have to earn the right to keep this going. And we said, we've got a good thing going here. 3 days a week. We work incredibly hard when we're in, but you've got 2 full days off in the week to do what you want. You recover or spend time with your family. But come Saturday, you pitch up and you show what it means to play for Quins. And we did that. And we kept doing it, and it kept working. So we were like, okay, let's just ride this wave as long as we could. And we went on a great run, scored a load of points. But I think the closeness of what COVID, when that happened, we had to just pull in tight together. And some of our best rugby was played in front of no fans, which is mad considering, our fans just drive us to some level. I don't know how they do it, but they managed to get us going to score some amazing tries and some amazing comebacks. But we played some brilliant rugby in closed doors, even though it was awful. It was awful running out there and playing with no one in the stand. Yeah. From, when I first came down here, the Stoop faithful are just amazing, and I felt the love. So for whenever you go out there and it was just nothing, and I'm asking lads to run into brick walls after brick walls, and they get nothing back, no clapping, no cheers, nothing from anyone. It was a tough ask, but fair play. The lads, we did it. We dug in, scored some, good tries, got some good wins. But I definitely feel the closeness of having to just rely on each other.
Yeah.
We definitely grew us closer.
And you talk about that playing with no fans. Obviously, you've experienced a lot in your career, but obviously had that period of playing with fans for most of the career, and then no fans for a couple of, or a season really, I guess. We've had Jack Kenningham on the podcast, and he talks about how when he obviously started playing, he was playing in front of no fans. That was kind of what he knew a match day to be like, and then how, when you had those fans in, what that difference, that exposure was like. Were there a few boys that in similar boats that you were saying to them, like, no, this is awful? Like,
yeah, I mean, there was genuine conversations of like, why are we doing this? Like, rugby's a crazy game. Like, it is a crazy game to ask lads to run into brick wall after brick wall.
Yeah.
And especially when you ask them to do it and there'll be no gratification. Is that a word, gratification?
We'll allow it.
Yeah. Or no satisfaction of, hearing a crowd roar or cheer for you to make a last-ditch tackle. There was just nothing. It was soulless. And for me, that's not rugby is. For me, rugby is about the fans. It's about running out there in the stoop and there's fireworks and everyone's going mad and you score a try and everyone's off their feet and there's kids jumping around everywhere because it's joy, it's happiness. And I missed it so much. There was times where I was questioning whether I really wanted to do it anymore because it didn't feel real, didn't feel right. So then to get them back, I know we only had 10,000 for the final, but it felt like 100,000 because we'd missed them so much, and our fans that year and every year travelling all over for us. Like I say, I'm not just saying it because I've been here a while, but I'm pretty biased. I think we've got the best fans in the world.
Well, they certainly love you, Danny, which probably helps you say that, to be fair.
Yeah, that does help.
So look, we talked obviously a lot about then your life in rugby and Quins and kind of clearly what it means to you, the players and the fans. But then outside of rugby, away from that, you talked about your family already. Like, what kind of fires you up away from rugby? You've got 2 extra days off in the week now, by the sounds of things. So what are you filling your time with?
Yeah, they're harder than the days in, to be honest. with three kids down now. I like to get on the golf course when I can. When I got to put the green card in fairly early with the wife for that. But then when she lets me out, I take full advantage of that. I love playing golf. I love the fact that it's still competitive, but it's just fun. I'm being with the boys and I don't take it too seriously. I don't play enough to get as good as I'd like to get. But hopefully when the day comes, I don't have to play rugby anymore. I might have a bit more time. But 3 kids who keep me busy, keep me entertained. And I go home. It is a crazy home. But I wouldn't change it for the world. They're the reason like I said earlier, I'm still playing the game. Yeah. The reason why I want to make them proud. I want to try and give them as good a start to their lives as I possibly can, and to see their faces after a game when they run on the pitch. I came down here as a 19-year-old, never thought I'd be still here 17 years later with an amazing wife and three mental kids. They're the best thing that's ever happened to me. So it's amazing to share the whole Harlequins experience with them because it's a family club and the club really look after them as well, which is something I love about the club as well.
And then I'm kind of interested in 2 answers to this question. We like to ask people whether they're a spender or a saver, but I'd like to get these answers from Danny Kerr, the Premiership winner in 2012, when, in your own words, you were young, free and single. Yeah. And then how that's changed to you now. So spender or a saver. We'll start with back in 2012.
Yeah, back in the day. So when I came down in 2006, I came down in a lovely little blue Punto. Lovely. Loved the car. Yeah. Like electric blue. It was rapid. And very quickly changed that to a Range Rover Sport. It was a stupid decision. But I always said if I ever could afford to buy a Range Rover Sport, I'd buy one. And then as soon as I signed that contract, I'll be honest, I had a bit of an interesting agent at the time who was sending me Ferraris as options to buy. I was like, I don't quite have that much money. But I
that would
really
be quite the impression to
it would have
the
been,
red Ferrari.
it would have been a big one. So I went for after about a year down here, I went for a Range Rover Sport, which is literally my dream car. And I got it and I was very happy with it. I brought it back home within 2 days. So I still had my Punto. I was going to sell that.
Yeah.
Punto and my Range Rover were outside. And then I heard this big crash out of my bedroom window. And then a neighbour was knocking on my door. She said, Danny, you got to come down. Something's happened to your car. And I was like, hang on, which car? Because I've got two at the moment. And she went, both. I was like, right, okay. And this woman had been flying around the corner, hit my Punto into the Range Rover. It had moved it 5 meters. So she must have been going at a fair old lick. Told me she was going 25 and the sun got in her eyes. I was like, yes, okay, love. And the Punto had fully crushed. So in between the car. So firstly I was like, well, it's a write-off. So at least I'll get a payout. I don't have to have the problem of selling that. But my brand new sparkly clean car that I just spent rather a lot of money on was very, very damaged. So I don't know if that was karma for me being a bit of a tosser, buying a Range Rover Sport.
That lady doing 25, the sun was shining in her eyes for a reason.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, back then I was definitely a spender. We'd go out and have fun and we were young and in London, enjoying ourselves. But then I turned into a saver. I did turn into a saver. So then I've been saving money for as long as I could remember from my England career and Quins, because me and my wife always wanted to do up a house, which we're now doing. And now it's just
really,
it's at that stage now where we're having to pay for things. This dream of having this amazing house is amazing. The reality is you have to pay a lot of money these days to do a build. A builder said to me the other week, this is the worst time in history to be doing what you're doing.
It's lovely. And that's someone that you're paying money to.
And he's like, by the way, could you just send those money for the invoices over? So I was a saver. And now, I mean, you look at it now, you're like, there's not much left. Yeah. But the house is nearly done. So,
really?
But that's been the dream, is to have kind of done our own house.
Amazing.
Which is cool. Like, we can make it exactly how we want, give the kids a nice big space for them to ruin, because they, no doubt they will. But yeah, it'd be nice to look at that and go, okay, well, my wife and I have worked hard for this, so at least going to give them a nice environment, hopefully, to grow up in. Till we need the money, we have to sell it.
Yeah, exactly. But was that always the plan then from earlier, when you were saving, it was with this kind of dream in mind of the Range Rover Sport's gone now? The dream is the big family house.
Yeah, 100%. As soon as you have kids, I think you'll say the same. Your perspective on everything changes. Yeah. You realise how much money that they cost to keep them happy. And now you've got 3 of them. So I definitely, my mindset has shifted into being more of a saver. And just trying to provide them with a good base and foundation that they can then hopefully go on and have a good start to their life.
So what are the pitfalls to avoid then in terms of property development, aside doing it right now, which sounds like the biggest issue? Are there any things you've really uncovered? You're like, we'll do that different if we did it again?
Yeah, so I mean, we were fairly naive into it, I'd never done any building work to a house before. Right. Also, I am an idiot when it comes to DIY. So
a potent combination.
Yeah, so I can't do any of it myself, which, sometimes when you get the bills in for what they've done, you're like, I wish I'd just learn a bit more or gone and done a course in carpentry or something. But I'm quite naive in the way that they put a price down and I go, well, it's ridiculous how much zeros you've got on there, but I don't know any different. So at least the naivety, I'm telling myself that it's okay. Everyone that comes around keeps saying it'll be worth it. And everyone that's done it, it's like, it'd be worth it in the end. And I still can't see that, because I'm just seeing money leaving my account.
Yeah.
Not much happening to the house. But I would say check your roof structure is a key thing, because we thought our roof would be fine.
Yeah.
Turns out we needed a brand new roof. Turns out roofs are quite expensive, Joe. Yeah. So which you're fine about. Yeah.
Absolutely fine about it.
Fine. This is what I'm still playing. Yeah. And my wife will have me play until 45 so we can finally finish this house.
Yeah. So your dreams of retiring after a Premiership win, and then you get the call being like, the roof's bad, Danny. You're like,
okay.
Right, Quins, I'm in. Yeah. Sign me up.
Another year, please, Tabs. Yeah.
But has it been enjoyable, like, to have a different project outside of rugby that kind of, it doesn't sound like you need much extra to have your mind on, but to have this other thing that's kind of constantly bubbling away?
Is it enjoyable? I'm not sure it's enjoyable yet. I think it will be enjoyable when I get the keys to the house and we're in it, because we also hoped we could live in the house whilst doing it to save some money. Can't do that without a roof. So obviously had to go and find somewhere to rent, which is more money just out. So once I'm in it and I'm sat on my sofa watching my telly in the house when the kids are asleep, I think I'll finally go, yeah, it was worth it.
A lot of caveats, but that does sound like Nirvana.
It will be nice. Yeah. But my wife has given me one room to design. She's like, you can have, it could be what you want, a cinema room, or I always thought I maybe want a cinema room, but then I thought, I've always wanted a pool table and my own bar.
Yeah.
So it's turned into a bar pool table area, which
that is
very exciting.
That's exciting. That's more exciting than the sofa and the TV.
Yeah, I think so. I think when I break my first break, when I rack the balls up, and I do my first break, and I have a pint next to me on my bar, I think that's when I'll be like, okay, it's worth it.
There you go. What's that drip? Oh, that's the roof.
That's the roof. Yeah. Couldn't finish that. Yeah.
Couldn't finish that with the pool table.
Play with umbrellas.
Yeah. So have you always been someone then that's had one eye on life outside of rugby, or are you someone that, like, when you've been playing, it's like it's easier to be kind of really laser focused on actually playing the game?
Yeah, I think you can't take your eye off the ball too much, because I feel like if you don't give it your everything, you won't be successful. And I think that's you could take that into any walk of life, but definitely I think for my rugby, I've always been very much driven to try and be the best that I can be. Always really wanted to play for England, so I've always given it my all and worked as hard as I could. But at the same time, I'm not naive enough to think that rugby will pay you for the rest of your life. We earn a good wage playing rugby. It's hard graft. Your body feels the rewards, not the rewards, the negative effects of that. And I've seen so many good mates have to retire late 20s. Not many make it past 30 now, which is scary. Touch wood, I'm still knocking about. But I don't know how the big lads do it. I think I'd have been long gone if I was been in the front row. I generally don't know how they're still doing it. But yeah, what was the question?
Great answer.
Yeah.
No, someone that, do you kind of have you always had an eye on life outside of rugby while you've been playing, or have you been like laser focused in?
So yeah, there was the laser focus of when it's rugby, but I'm very much away from rugby. I don't think about it. I switch off, and the family obviously helps with that. Yeah. But then off-field stuff, I really like the media side of things. So I've been with the BBC nearly 4 years now with our podcast, which I really enjoy. Try and do some punditry when I can, bit of commentary, and other little bits and bobs that I'd love to do more of when I stop playing. It's obviously hard because you sometimes you get a call say, can you come and do this, and it's tricky while you're still playing. So I know at some point I need to take the leap and jump and go and do whatever I'm going to do next. But it's hard when I always said I'll stop playing when I feel like I'm not letting the team down if I'm not good enough.
Right, okay, yeah.
Or I don't enjoy it anymore. Yeah. And I still feel like I can do it, and I still really enjoy that feeling. So I'm not ready to give it up yet, but I do realise at some point, if I do want to go and do what I want to do next, I need to take a leap.
You've got to kind of jump in. Yeah. Both feet. And which bit in the media side of it, do you like the The presenting more, or like the punditry commentary side more?
Yeah, so obviously I love the punditry commentary bits, but I'd like to do a little bit more of the presenting side of things. It's obviously hard. I need to spend some time practicing that and getting in the right rooms to try and do that. But I love talking about rugby.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like to kind of see it from a different perspective. Great to give your opinion as a player, but I think when I stop playing, I'll hopefully be able to be a bit more decisive and impartial. Yeah, not so impartial. But I'd really like to do some more of that when I stop.
But then you did a bit of you've taken a turn at musical theatre. Was that on ITV?
I did.
Going to go back to that?
They haven't come calling yet. The West End hasn't come calling. Don't think my performance was good enough, but no, I loved it. I loved doing something.
What was that
different.
like out of the comfort zone?
It was amazing. My agent called me and said there's a show called All Star Musicals.
Yeah,
they take 6 of you from different walks of life, some TV people, actors, singers, sportsmen and women. Would you be interested in coming on and you get some practice, you get a few months of training and help, but then you've got to perform and sing a song into a live audience on live TV. And I was like, I've always loved singing. Like I'm not a great singer, but I've always loved it. And I kind of wish I was in a boy band. That would have been the dream, I think. Football, boy band, rugby was third choice. So then I was like, this is a great opportunity to completely out of my comfort zone, stood on a stage, singing a song, completely on my own for the first 45 seconds. It was terrifying, but it was amazing. Like I wish I could do it again.
Really, like exhilarating.
Yeah, just the same kind of feeling as I had the pre-match nerves. I was stood behind the curtain, about to go on, like bricking it.
Yeah.
But excited at the same time.
Yeah. And
then to do it and finish it, there was the biggest relief ever, just to get off the stage. I didn't win. My son was in the crowd. He was crying when Alex Beresford got given the trophy.
It's not that much of a competition. It's like, boo!
Yeah. He's like, where did you come? He was like, did you come second, Dad? I was like, yeah. We'll just say that. So there was no second places, but apparently I came second. But it was amazing. Met some amazing people, completely something different. But like I say, the West End hasn't come calling yet.
But do you find that, like you talked about, like it was pre-match nerves, right? Doing something like that out of your comfort zone. Are you someone that uses those nerves when you play rugby? I mean, obviously you played so many games for Quins, for England. Do you still get that kind of butterflies to pit yourself?
Yeah, I do, and I think it's a good thing because I think it means something to you. It shows that you care about it still. So I do get the nerves still. I think I've got better over time of channeling them and turning it into an excitement thing and a positive thing. But I think if you don't get some sort of nerves before a game, then I don't think it really means enough to you. So I think nerves are a good thing. So I embrace it. I look forward to it. And then as soon as I run out the stoop, the fireworks come out, then I don't think about it anymore.
Well, it's interesting just speaking to you. Obviously, you're someone that we all know watching play rugby. Like you like to do it with a smile on your face. But to even talk about how much you still love it, even how you still get that excitement, it goes back to what you were saying before, right? That when that's gone is probably when it's time to start looking. But you're not even close to that yet.
No, I don't think so. Getting to run out at big game and running out at Twickenham or at the Stoop and it's full, and like I say, the family's there and the people that I speak to a lot of fans at the weekend after the game. I didn't play, but so many of them just come up to me and said, I've watched you since you were a 19-year-old lad. Yeah. Now you're almost double. You're double that age. Like you've been here a long time, and you go, I really have. I've grown up here. It's like this has been, nearly half of my life has been at Harlequins, which is mad. How they're still picking me and playing me. I don't know.
Then, when you were like 19, getting that Range Rover Sport, did you kind of think, I'm Quins for life? Or were you sort of like, this is an absolute blast now? Yeah. But I wonder what...
I think you just never know. You never know what's going to happen. I never knew coming down here at 19, I'd still be here 17 years later. I just kind of thought, I've got a 3-year contract. I'm going to give it my all. This club looks like the best club I could possibly join. It seems like a match made in heaven. They want me. I'm just going to enjoy it. and that's the way I've always played. Like, and some people don't like it because I do play with a smile on my face and I do make mistakes, but I don't think I probably would fit in many other clubs. I think the way I see the game, luckily for me, Quins has given me the perfect opportunity to play my style of rugby, and it fits with my personality as well. So that's why for me, when anyone always says, "Oh, maybe I might move," I say, "I don't think it's going to be as good." I promise you, I don't.
You must have seen that with players joining and equally players leaving for maybe, I don't know, they say that the grass always looks greener on the other side. That are there players that you've spotted? You don't have to name names that you've gone. That's not going to work for you somewhere else. And equally, players you see playing for other places that you go, oh yeah, you play against them, you go, they'd be great here.
Yeah. You can tell. I think you can tell the type of player that would fit the Quins mould. I think most of the players, if they ever lean on me for advice about potentially leaving, I always say, I think you might be making the wrong decision, because I don't think, like I say, I'm biased, but I don't think there's a better club. I really don't. I love everything the club's about. It's a proper London club. I think we've got two of the best owners you could ever wish to meet, and their families are incredible. Come to pretty much every game wherever we are. And we got the best supporters who travel all over the world for us, and we play the best brand of rugby. So I know we haven't had all the success that we would like, but when you do get those ones where you do get the success, I think it makes it all worthwhile. All the dark times, it makes it worthwhile when you stood there. When I watched Stefan Dommers and Brownie lift that trophy in 21, with tears in my eyes, because it was... I get goosebumps whenever I think about it. Blake watches it at home all the time on YouTube, sticks it on. He was watching it yesterday because he just loves watching that semi-final and then the final back over and over again. And every time I think about it, it blows me away, and how lucky I am to have done that with this club.
Well, that almost brings us to our final question. Before I get on to that, just one very quick additional question, which no one else has had.
Yeah.
You said football, boy band, rugby third choice.
Yeah.
Boy band out of the current Quinn squad. Obviously, you're in there. Yeah. Looking for three others, maybe.
Okay, so Joe Marchant, I think would go in there.
Nice. Yeah.
Plays the guitar, loves a sing song.
A bit of a Niall Horan.
Yeah.
One direction.
Yeah. So am I, Harry?
That's your words, not mine. Yeah, take it.
I could be Harry. Who else we got? Luke Northmore can blast a tune out. Great singing voice. And I've probably at the current squad, someone who just loves it and would just get his top off the whole time for the crowd. Yeah, would be Josh Bassett.
Oh, really?
I think Josh would do well as that role. Just the hype man.
he's the Bez.
Yeah. He'd just be stood couple of backing lyrics, but top off, looking good, sort the after party.
Excellent. Well, that's the entertainment book for Big Game next year then.
Sweet.
Right, now a gear change for the final question, which you talked about, like, and obviously you've been at Quins for so long, there have been those incredible highs, but on the pitch, those lows, and equally off the pitch as well, I imagine, that you've kind of been through in your time playing for Quins in England. And you've talked a lot about how you find joy, I guess. That's something that's why you still love playing rugby. You have that enjoyment aspect of it. How do you find that when you're in those darker times? What are the things that kind of bring you back to that enjoyment?
For me, perspective. It's definitely something I've learned as I've got older, and definitely something since having a family. Because before, when it was just you and you'd go and you wouldn't play very well, you'd look on Twitter after the game, you'd be getting hammered, you'd be getting abused by everybody, and you'd almost look for it, which is the worst thing. Like, even if you'd know you'd played badly, you'd probably look for it even more, because you look on your mentions and it's like an embarrassing thing. But you kind of want to see just how bad it is, when you've played badly.
Yeah. The curiosity gets the better of you.
And I used to do that quite a lot through the early days of England, and worry about what people thought, and what if they think that, maybe the coaches will think that, maybe I'm not going to get picked, and you can get yourself in a real sort of negative spiral about it all. And I met my wife 10 years ago this summer, and she helped me massively with that, because she didn't know anything about rugby, still doesn't, which I love, because I don't really take my work home with me, and she always would just say, all right, well, don't worry about it, it's fine, you're a good player, Everyone can have a bad day. Just do it with a smile on your face, show up and work harder, and you'll be fine. And then you have a kid, and now I've got 3 that they don't care if I put a box kick out on the full at the weekend, or I missed a tackle. They just want dad to play hide and seek with them and be there with them. So, you go home from a bad day at training, and whatever's happened, your kids will come and give you a cuddle because they think you're the best person in the world. So then I think that as a perspective, then you go, well, if they don't take life too seriously, I'd love to just harness a bit of that. And I would like to be that. Every day is just an amazing day for them. So I just try and take a little bit of their positivity into my day. Definitely has made me a better player. I do think I've played my better rugby towards the back end of my career, and I think that is down to the family, to thinking that I don't sweat the little things too much. I just enjoy myself, enjoy my rugby, play with a smile on my face, and I'm at a club that lets me do that. As I said earlier, I think if I was at a different club where you had to do things in a certain way, I don't think it would work. And my personality probably wouldn't work that way. But here, with the family in my mind all the time, that I can just be me. Some people still won't like it, but some people do. And the people that matter most to me are the ones that make it worthwhile. And that's the Quins fans and the whole family and my family. So, hopefully I'll keep doing it for a little bit longer.
Well, I'm sure I'm not alone in saying I hope you do, Danny. It's been brilliant speaking to you. Thank you so much for giving up your time to chat to us. And now back to training, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Thanks for coming on Diary of a Harlequin, Danny.
Thanks, mate.